Hello all and welcome to this week's live where I'm talking about a topic I haven't talked a lot about before, and that's about being vegetarian and having weight loss surgery. And I'm going to talk a bit about it from a bariatric dietitian's point of view. Thank you everyone that's jumping on. I've been asked recently a few times around managing the bariatric journey as a vegetarian. So I want to talk about some of the topics, some of the things that come up, I suppose, from my perspective as a bariatric dietitian. If you are jumping on, welcome. If you are a vegetarian, please put a 1 in the comments. That would be wonderful. So for people, I've got my little post-it notes on my ring light and they kind of keep on falling like lovely leaves. And so I might have to pick up one soon. So lovely. Any vegetarians, please put a 1 in the comments. But we're also going to talk about what does vegetarian mean. People say the word vegetarian, and whenever people say vegetarian, I say, okay, let's dig into that. What does that mean? Is that vegan, where there's no animal products? Are you pescatarian? Are you lacto-ovo? And lacto-ovo means you have milk and the dairy and eggs. And so really we want to be clear about what are the foods that you are comfortable to eat and what are the foods you want to avoid. So that's really the first thing. So also the other point that I want to make is many people over the years have said to me when I've been talking to people if they're vegetarian, and they'd said that they'd been told that they shouldn't be post-bariatric surgery, that they should not avoid that, but they need to not be vegetarian. They need to have some animal products and all of those kind of comments. I just want to say that it is possible to be really successful after your bariatric journey and be vegetarian, okay? That's my first comment. So anyone that's jumping on now, please put a 1 in the comments if you are vegetarian. And while you're doing that, I'm just going to go down and pick up my little things off the floor. So is it possible to be vegetarian post-bariatric surgery? Yes, it is. But what we want to consider is, yes, what type of vegetarian you are. And then I want to talk about why it can make the journey a little bit more challenging. And it can make the journey a little bit more challenging post-bariatric surgery. But that's okay because we can work around that. We can be aware of what we need to work on and do that. And so you can still be in line with what you want to be eating, and you can avoid the foods that you want to avoid. Yeah, so great. And also for people that are new to my lives, if you haven't watched many of my lives, I'm really open to any questions, even if the question is not exactly on this topic. If it's bariatric nutrition related, please send your question through, okay? What can make being vegetarian, why can that be a little bit more challenging post-bariatric surgery? And the first point is reaching your protein goals. Because even though there are great plant-based foods with great protein in them, they're often not as high in protein that compared to the animal-based food. So there's that volume challenge. And post-bariatric surgery, you can't eat the same volume of food. That's one of the challenges. So it can make reaching your protein goals more challenging because the foods, say beans and legumes and even tofu, you have to eat more of them to reach that a certain amount of protein. So that's challenge number 1, reaching your protein goals, being a vegetarian. But is it possible? Yes, it is. The second challenge is that with plant-based protein foods, there's carbohydrate in them. And that's great because that's also where we get fiber and a whole range of nutrients. So that's really important that we have those in our diet. But when we're looking at those high protein, even the higher protein plant foods, there's more carbohydrates in them. And we are aiming for a bariatric diet that's got adequate protein and a lower, kind of more moderate carbohydrate intake. So as a vegetarian person, you can easily kind of consume too many carbohydrates, and that also leads to increased energy intake when you're trying to meet your protein goals from food. Okay, so that's number 3. And I'll just say also, I'm not going to go into the vitamins and things like B12 and iron and those things today. I'm just really talking about more big picture macros, because if you are vegetarian, vegan, certain nutrients are going to be in deficit in your diet, and we would need to top them up and all those things. So I'm not touching on those, that more kind of deeper level in this live today. I just want to talk about kind of more of the big picture. And the third challenge we are looking at, or we need to make sure we address, is the satiety topic and the satiety area, because the high protein plant foods and chicken and dairy and lamb and fish and all of those things, you can be a vegetarian, a pescatarian, have fish, but if you're not having those kind of more denser protein foods, you can have a lower satiety from your meal, and that's satiety satisfaction. Because the denser the protein foods, the more satiating they are. So a smaller amount of them will lead to being satisfied earlier, a lower energy intake, and keep you satisfied for longer. So that's the other challenge that we are really wanting to overcome and kind of work around. So I'll just recap on those. Reaching your protein goal, and my memory's going, that's why I used to be able to do these with basically just no little thing, but sometimes I need my reminders. Reaching your protein goal, managing carbohydrate intake so it doesn't go too high, and also the satiety topic. So they're kind of those really big three that I'm looking at when I'm working with somebody that is vegetarian. And yes, we're wanting to get a good range and variety of different plant-based proteins, and that ensures that when we put your diet all together, we're getting all those essential amino acids that we need. I've got a few strategies that I want to share. So if anyone that's popped on is a vegetarian in some form, please put a 1 in the comment. That would be wonderful. So I know if anyone's on, if you have any questions, please put them in. They don't have to be solely related to what we're talking about today. Strategies. So this is a big one, and this is for many people, this is a challenge or something they thought, but a good protein powder is going to be really important in a vegetarian diet, because we need to really keep the volume of your meals down and really get some good protein in there. And there are some great plant-based protein powders. Soy would be the best quality from a plant-based, and then we're looking at things like pea proteins. And I find most people say a soy protein powder is better, more palatable than say a pea, but there's some really good protein powders that are plant-based. And that's definitely what we need to leverage more for longer in a vegetarian person that's following a vegetarian diet post-bariatric surgery. The protein powder is going to be really instrumental in keeping your volume of intake down, keeping in line with your restriction, not pushing it, and also getting that protein up. Because a good protein powder has a great amount of protein and low amount of carbohydrate, okay? We also explore all the different foods that you are happy and enjoy eating that are high in protein. And we really want to expand and get great variety in your diet. Often people, if you've moved maybe quickly into being a vegetarian and haven't necessarily had good support in following a vegetarian diet, it can involve just kind of pulling the things out of your diet that you want to avoid. But we want to make sure we're putting other things into your diet to make sure it's more balanced from a key nutrient point of view, the best we can, and get the greatest variety, okay? And then also we want to look at ways to maximize satiety. And so this links to one of the challenges, but we want to come into your meals and really look at which foods are giving you the greatest satiety for the smallest volume, how do we build in good protein, and how do we also build in wonderful fibre, okay? So that's really, really key. And I'm just going to recap those, and then I'm going to come back and answer this lovely question. So strategies is to really leverage using a protein powder, to really explore great variety, and that means even trying foods that you may not have tried before, such as tofu and tempeh and lupins and a whole range of foods, and beans and legumes and things. Maximize satiety, so looking at the foods that give you the greatest satiety and also leveraging protein and what protein powders we can use in foods to help really get that protein up and that satiety up. I've been a little bit distracted because all of these, my little things, When they fall off, they look like autumn leaves coming down. I'm like, oh. So I'm going to answer this question. Any other questions I would love to hear? Would it be better to have a 150 ml protein drink rather than a 200, 250? Okay, great question. I don't mind either of those volumes. The volumes that I was about to say approve, but I don't want to, like I'm approving or not approving. The higher volume, when people make really big drinks, it's just too much. I love less than a cup, less than 250 mils. Anywhere under a cup I'm happy with, as long as you can comfortably get it in, sip, and comfortably get it in within half an hour, a nice distinct meal time. Because as a protein drink, we are using that as a meal. So we want to have it in a nice distinct period of time. So whatever's comfortable, as long as we're getting a good amount of protein, it's the texture or the consistency you like, and can you get it comfortably in within half an hour, then I'm any of those volumes. Definitely in the early days, we want to keep things smaller. And the reason why we don't want the really big drinks is because often you can't get them in a nice distinct time in a meal time. And then you sip on them over time and it turns more into grazing, turns more into a grazing eating pattern and throws out the appetite for the next meal. So that's the answer, but that's a great question. So today I've talked about, and my lives are all saved, no matter how wonderful they are or how, like today, the power went off, or I don't know if the power's off because I haven't checked, or whether it's Puppy playing with the cords in my office. And they are saved in the feed of my Instagram. For people that don't know me, if you're new to my Instagram, my name is Jane Stoltze and I'm the Bariatric Nutrition Coach. And I work with people all over the world, like literally all over the world, pre-surgery and every stage after surgery. And I love what I do. I love working with people at all different stages. And I just also love that I can offer people support no matter where you live, because that is really important. Not everyone lives close to a town or a city. Not everyone connects or has that support with their bariatric centre. So it's really important for me to let people know there is support if you need it. And if you're not aware, I have a podcast. It's called the Bariatric Nutrition Coach podcast, and it's in Apple, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. And we're looking to put it into more channels, or if that's what you call for podcasts. So any questions, if you're looking for support for any reason, please just send me the word support, comment or DM, and I'll come back and we'll chat. And there's no pressure or obligation to chat with me via Instagram or either Facebook. It's what I do so people understand the service and the coaching I provide. So thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Thank you for your patience. If you've got any other vegetarian questions or questions about being a vegetarian, post-bariatric surgery, please send them through in either the comments or as a DM. Thanks so much. Bye for now.